it's not, you win a lot of games in the NFL, you can lose a lot of games. And right now, we know who can play 7, 8, 9, 10 good teams and 7, 8, 9 junk, right? Some teams in the middle. It's sort of like sometimes how you win and how you lose. Here's the really bad news for Baltimore and the really great news for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Pittsburgh Steelers should have lost that game. That game went the exact way Baltimore wanted it to go. You couldn't stop the running game. They forced turnovers. Pittsburgh couldn't move the ball. Pittsburgh couldn't run the ball. Everything. If you looked at the box score without the quarterbacks, you'd be like, oh, my Baltimore rolled them. The great news for Pittsburgh, you won that game. You won a game in which you were controlled. Time of possession, you had 2 turnovers, by the way. Baltimore ran for 265 yards. When's the last time they did that and lost? But they did. And they did because of Lamar Jackson. He wasn't very good. And there were a lot of criticisms of Lamar Jackson coming out of college. And by the way, every quarterback out of college gets criticized. I mean, I remember when people were on Andrew Luck. I don't know about his arm. I was like, folks, this is about as good as a college quarterback is. Trevor Lawrence, you're starting to hear criticisms. But Lamar, people got very sensitive. And the criticisms were fair. He's an unbelievable athlete. But we know in NFL history, you got to be able to throw the ball effectively and accurately. He's struggling. We got tape. It's getting bad. Since week 1, he's not good. He completes 57% of his throws. That's bad. That's like... In the NFL right now, everybody's around 64 to 68. Russell Wilson for a while was at 75. He's got a weird throwing motion. His accuracy is hot and cold. He is sometimes his touch is terrible, and everybody's got a book on him now. We're not saying he can't be an NFL quarterback. That's not the question. Of course he can. But the difference is Russell Wilson and Kyler Murray are hyper athletic, but the athleticism complements 2 guys that are great throwers of the football. They throw a beautiful ball. With Lamar Jackson, his athleticism is starting now to kind of define who he is. You stop that, you stop him. So there are a lot of different ways. When he came into the league, and I was one of those who questioned it. I said, I think he's a bit of a project. I don't like his throwing motion. My takeaway was always, what's he going to be on third down? In college and high school, a quarterback, you just take off and run on third down. That works. In the NFL, at some point, you're going to have to sit in the pocket in third down. The coaching's way better. The athletes are way better. They're going to make you throw on third down. You don't have to in college. You don't have to in high school. You can just take off. And that was always, and I remember getting on Twitter and people, what are you saying? And I'm saying, I don't know. I watched him play in college. He ran for 200 yards in some games. That's not going to work in the NFL. He's not a great thrower of the football yet. We just have to recalibrate things, I think, on Lamar Jackson. Baltimore's still good. He's still good. But the whole Russell Wilson category, Mahomes category, Aaron Rodgers category, and some of these new young stars. This morning, if you ask me, next 10 years, Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, I take Burrow. I'm recalibrating. I'm recalibrating how I think of Joe Burrow playing with nothing, absolutely nothing, and tearing apart Tennessee's defense. And I'm recalibrating how I look at the Ravens, very good football team, and how I look at Lamar Jackson. He's struggling. 9 TDs, 4 picks since week 1. He beat Cleveland. We know what Cleveland is. So Mike Tomlin, I think, really touched on something with Lamar Jackson. When he came into this league, everybody fears new in the NFL. First of all, new catches everybody off guard. The Wildcat worked. Snapping a ball to a running back worked for a year. Even the Patriots tried it. So new can work in this league. And I think Lamar Jackson initially kind of scared people. It's like, I'm not sure if we have the linebackers that can keep up with him. I'm not sure there's a lot of fear. There's a lot of fear. But Mike Tomlin, I think, touched on something after the win, a game in which Pittsburgh should not have won, on Lamar Jackson. And I think that is today how I view Lamar Jackson and how the league views him. You got to respect him. He can do stuff other guys can't. But the fear part of it is like, no. There's a way now. Drop 8 into coverage. Make him make throws up the sideline. Make him show some touch. Make him be an accurate thrower of the football. And I think there's now a way to make things uncomfortable for him, and he now has to recalibrate himself, get through this. A lot of young guys don't. A lot of quarterbacks, they're good. You throw up a wall, and they can never break through it. I mean, a couple of weeks ago, we were talking about Patrick Mahomes. Everybody was like, play a zone against him. Play zone against Patrick Mahomes. Yeah, that worked for about 2 weeks, and that doesn't work anymore. And for Russell Wilson, for a long time, it was like, hey, you get a spy on Russell Wilson. You just put a spy on Russell and follow him around the field. And that worked for about 3 games, and now it doesn't work anymore. So, Lamar, let's recalibrate. Let's realize that the league has kind of figured out some of his deficiencies. Can he break through it? We'll watch. Still a good team, still a good quarterback. But today, I take Burrow over Lamar next 10 years if you ask me. So, one of the if I see something, I'm going to say something. Because I don't have any fear of being wrong. If I'm wrong, what's going to happen? Are you going to eat me? I'm fine. Okay, I don't mind being wrong. And so I remember years and years ago, I worked at the other place. Randy Moss was a Patriot. And they were just crushing the league. But he'd been there a few years, and all of a sudden there was a Monday night game, New England against Miami, and they targeted Randy Moss one time. And I came on the air Tuesday, I said he's getting traded. And I got nothing but crap. I got crap from my bosses. They're like, you just can't say that. And I said, I'm in the opinion space. He's going to get traded. You don't target Randy Moss with Tom Brady one time. They're taking him out of the playbook. John Goulet was there, my producer. John, you know what happens. What happened, John?
Randy Moss got traded.
Yeah. When I see stuff, I'm going to tell you because I don't care if I'm wrong, but I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to withhold information. So I've been thinking Tua was going to be a nice pro. And then as Joy and I do this show every day, I'm watching all this video come in all the time at practice. And I'm thinking, okay, we're going to have a Tua debut. And I watch Justin Herbert, big and strong, and Burrow and Josh Allen and Lamar. And I'm watching all these young quarterbacks, and they're one of two things: big men or wildly athletic. And so I had an epiphany. I said, Tua's not going to work. He'll win games. I mean, Trubisky wins games. He's not going to be what we think he is. He's not going to be what I think he is. So yesterday he debuts. And that was my epiphany, is that he looks small. And he doesn't have a dynamic arm. And the coaching staff protected him. And they had 8 first downs and 90 net passing yards. And he was bad on third down. And they almost never maintained drives. I'm not making a judgment just off one game. But when I see stuff, I'm going to say stuff. And I watch Joe Burrow and his everything about him I like. And he's got an okay arm, but he's dynamic. He moves around. I see Herbert. He had a terrible pick yesterday. Herbert makes huge mistakes. But I see dynamic. And I never saw Andrew Luck, Kyler Murray, Russell Wilson. Well, I did a little bit. Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert. I don't feel like their coaches are protecting him. And I kind of feel like yesterday they just protected him. And I don't think you do that if you're at practice and you see him and you think, just let him go. Now, the next 2 weeks he takes on Justin Herbert and Kyler Murray, or Kyler Murray and Justin Herbert in that order. We'll know a lot more then. But when I watched it yesterday, Tua's going to win games. That's not the point here. This is a really good coaching staff, and this was a perfect game. I predicted Miami would beat the Rams. I said, this is a bad spot for the Rams. Short week Monday Night Football, 3,000-mile flight, early 10 o'clock Pacific window. That's a terrible spot for a football team. Miami was off a bye. Miami got 8 to 10 more days of prep for this game. That's a terrible spot to go up against Brian Flores. You're not going to win that game. Not a lot of teams going to win that game. Pittsburgh probably wins it. Kansas City wins it. Rams aren't going to win that game. So I picked Miami. But that Tua thing, that's what I saw. I see small. I don't see dynamic. I think in this league, you got to be one or two things. You got to be like 28 of the 30 best quarterbacks I've seen in my life are big men. I'm 6'2". They're taller than me slightly or above. Aaron Rodgers is on the small end, 6'2.5". They're big men. And if they're not, Fran Tarkenton, Russell Wilson, Michael Vick, they run around like crazy, open up passing lanes. The only exception is Drew Brees. And boy, you're asking a lot for a college kid to come into the NFL and say, all right, you're small and not very mobile. You've got to be Drew Brees to win. That's asking a lot. That is like landing, that's like throwing out a quarter and telling, an airplane to land on it. It's not the easiest spot to land on. So maybe I'm wrong. But this news came out yesterday. Adam Schefter reported what we had been talking about for months. Why did Miami sit red-hot veteran Ryan Fitzpatrick? Because Miami's got Houston's first-round pick, and it's a top 5 pick, and they're going to move if Tua, after 8 games, doesn't have it. It's not about winning. It's not about stats. Burrow's not winning every week. Herbert's not winning much. It's not about that. It's about it. Lamar's got some it. Josh Allen's got some it. Even Drew Lock's got some it. Does Tua have it? I saw yesterday, it looked like what I worried about. Not a lot of it there. Very tightly coached and prepared and protected. That's what I saw. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.